I'm Susie Beiler, and I was inspired to create this film for those who are on their awakening journeys, especially those of you who are just waking up and realizing there is something more. I understand this part of the journey. It can be confusing. It can be isolating because maybe your family and friends don't understand what you're going through. So as you watch this film, I invite you to find pieces of your story woven in with the pieces of the stories of those who are sharing their awakening journeys.
So I got in the water with the dolphins and started swimming with them, and immediately they're just like all around us. And I was amazed. I was keeping up with them, and I literally felt like I was part of the pod, like I was with them in the pod, just swimming with them. And so, I got my mask and snorkel and fins on, and I'm there, and I'm just swimming with them, and I'm in such bliss, and I'm in such joy. My heart is open. I started going and going. Now I'm by myself, because I kind of separated from the group, and I realized that we were getting farther and farther out to sea. And so it was, I don't know if you ever had this, but it was a mixture of bliss and panic at the same time. I'm like, I'm in my love, my joy, I'm doing what I love, and then there's that little thing that starts in the back of your head that's just like, that little voice like, you're getting a little far away from the boat, you're getting far away from people. I started thinking about my family, my kids. I am literally out in the middle of the Pacific, far from shore. And I was like, this could be it. I mean, you start thinking about your mortality, and like I could just be just gone. So I started hyperventilating with my snorkel. I'm like, I'm still looking down, but it's like, so I'm having a little panic attack. That's what's happened, and started to come into a big panic attack. And it started consuming me. My whole body was shaking. I'm like just hyperventilating, and started thinking about all the times I let fear stop me from being in the moment. That I let fear stop me from being in my bliss. That I let beliefs or judgments or what other people are going to say or do or think, or that stop me from fully embracing my life, from in doing what I love, or saying what I think is appropriate, or whatever, because fear might, stop me from doing those things. I'm in the water, I'm doing what I love, I'm with the dolphins. If I die right now, literally, okay, so be it. I totally surrendered in that moment, like as fully as anyone can surrender, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I'm tired of living in fear. I'm tired of not being my authentic self. I'm tired of letting circumstance, other people, other things control what my heart wants to do.
When I was young, I could have opened up or woken up much earlier. But if I'd go talk to my teachers about something, they just say, "Oh no, you're just daydreaming. It's going to make you dumb and rot your brain," is what they said. It was amazing. When I was like 8 or 10 years old, I just started to just plunge down into this emerald green tube and just start to expand and become more unbounded, and say, well, what is this? And they'd say, oh no, they're just daydreaming, just don't do that, stop that. I was in college, and I was walking across the campus, and I saw a picture of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in a lecture on transcendental meditation, and I wasn't ready, and I looked at that and I just went, oh, you gotta be kidding. I mean, that's ridiculous. And then I left college, went up to Aspen, became a ski bum for a year, and a friend called me who was still down at Colorado College where I'd gone. And he said, hey, I just learned this thing, TM, it's really great, you should try it. And synchronicity started to kick in because I was just walking through downtown Aspen that afternoon, there right on a bookstore window was the same poster. And I went, okay. And the lecture was that evening. So I went, okay. So I went to that. I didn't have any idea about, this enlightenment stuff, but I listened to the lecture. I looked at all the scientific information. I said, okay, well, that's going to be good for me. Don't know about the other stuff. So a week later, I went and started and completely changed the direction of my life from that point on. And then it's just a whole series of experiences.
And out of nowhere, the car we were driving got hit by a big white truck. Both of us were going highway speeds, and there's no way that I should even be here talking to you. In fact, what happened was, the glass crashed. None of us could breathe. We're thrown against our seat belts. There's smoke in the car. So we thought we had to get out. Somehow we could stand. And actually, I didn't sit down until the emergency people came and made me. We're all whisked to the hospital. I was in the hospital for a week. And, it causes you to question, like, wow, how is it that two vehicles could hit at those kind of speeds and I'm even here, let alone here and relatively unscathed. And so I started thinking about that, my business is kind of helping people connect to their core intention and their purpose on the planet. So it seemed like maybe this is an opportunity for me to think about my own. And it's really interesting how instructive circumstances like that can be, because, I guess after the accident, I'm thinking, I can't believe I'm alive. Like, this is really amazing. I'm alive. And then in the hospital, it was very painful. So it's like, on the one hand, I felt, oh my God, I'm so happy to be alive. And on the other hand, like, each day is an endurance contest. I can't wait for it to be over so I can go to sleep, but I couldn't sleep anyway. So, what difference did it make? And it occurs to me that we have that polarization in our daily lives. Like, it's not quite to the same extremes, but, even now it's possible to get caught up in petty things. So I think one of the things I realize is that that's always there. It's not like, maybe some other people you'll talk to will tell you that they had this transformative, life-changing experience, and things shifted forever and they weren't the same people. But I can tell that I'm the same, but also maybe there's access to a little bit more of who I've always been. So in that sense, it's been different.
I felt like I was a quirky kid. I didn't think about normal kid stuff. And I told my parents I was an alien baby left on their doorstep, and I think they believed me. I was always trying to prove myself that I wasn't a wimp, that I always felt like I had to do more to prove that I was as good as and keep up with other people. So I became a workaholic and engaged in all kinds of spiritual practices, meditation, yoga, writing became a spiritual practice, certainly prayer, connecting with kindred spirits. And fast forward to June 12th, 2014, on the way home from the gym at 55 years old, I had a heart attack. And it was nothing that I ever expected. That was a huge wake-up call for me, because I kept saying, yeah. Sort of like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, And I didn't die. I didn't, I was fully conscious the whole time, but I became even more awakened and more mindful as a result of that.
We're sitting in a steam room at the local gym, and all of a sudden I heard a voice for the first time, and it told me it was Archangel Michael, and it told me that it had some spiritual assignments for me. And it said the first one is that I want you to go out to the reception and you'll see a person, and I'll direct you to them, and I want you to tell them that their dog is fine. And so with much trepidation, something inside me though told me that this is actually important, and I need to do this, and I need to trust this. And so I did. I just kind of threw caution to the wind, and I got my clothes on, went out to the reception area, saw a person, knew that was the person I had to talk to, and passed on the message. And the moment I said the words, "Your dog is fine," they just burst into tears. And they said, "My dog passed on the weekend. I so needed to hear that. You have no idea." And I said, "Wow." And then I saw a vision of their dog and what it looked like, and I described it to them, and they said, "Yes, that's my dog." And then that was kind of the catalyst for a number of spiritual assignments over the next 12 years so far, and I just kept turning up to them. The one directly following that one was huge as well. I was asked to deliver a training that I'd never delivered before in my life, light worker practitioner training based on 12 high vibrational principles, and I was asked to channel this training through live. And I ended up putting it out in the paper and everything, getting a whole bunch of people in a room and delivering this training back in 2005. And it was incredible. And that process of me actually delivering the training, or that process even of turning up on to deliver the messages, was always a process of teaching me something, enlivening me, awakening something in me.
Very much in tune spiritually ever since I was young. In fact, I was born 5 days after an uncle had died in a car crash, and it was kind of like I kind of was born at a dark hour, and I kind of had to learn those emotional survivor skills, to see the light in people, and because I was born in a dark hour. And I've had nightmares, quite a bit of nightmares when I was a child, being tormented by demons and dark entities and that kind of a thing. My higher self, or my spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, they wouldn't let me out of the dream until I actually faced those fears and those demons head on. So I had these lucid dreaming experiences that, one where I was literally caught in a labyrinth, as far as the dream world is concerned, because your mind works differently in dreams. I was actually trapped in a dream that felt like, thousands of years. It honestly felt like thousands of years I was trapped in that dream. And every time I would figure out the labyrinth, I would have to start all over again and try to figure it out. So it wasn't until I remembered that I'd been in this dream for so long that the light started to come in from over top of the labyrinth. And then what my higher self said, use your heroes, tune into your heroes, tune into those who love you, and by focusing on my mother and father who loved me, seeing them as like Superman and Wonder Woman, I was able to transmute into, this godlike being within the dream. And I was able to fly out of it, and I understood, what that meant to transmute, that ego energy, that dark energy.
In 2008, I had my first home water birth, and my beautiful son was born. And I had this amazing vision board and all these dreams and goals of living in Hawaii and having an awesome house, and having a lot of free time to be able to be a mom and to be with my family, and also have a successful, thriving business. And so I realized that Mama's got to make some money. I'm married to a man who is also not very driven by money either, and I knew that I had it in me. And so I was down to my last $200. This is many years ago, 2011, and it really got my attention that I had to make a shift. And I ended up having $20,000 or $30,000 in credit card debt, which I had never had any debt. So there was a lot of shame, and all that money was not for material things. It was to invest in my business. And I realized that Mama had to make some money. I had to get strong, and I had to get empowered. And I ended up then really owning the value of the transformation that I provide and the space I hold for my clients. And I got to see, because a lot of this stuff is really about unworthiness. So I really healed a lot around my worth and my value and the channel that I am being for the universe versus it's about the money. I worked on changing my relationship or my beliefs around money. I really examined the money story that I had inherited from culture, from religion, from family, from mom's side, dad's side, everywhere and everything, from friends, family, everything. And then I birthed a new money story. And if you've ever given birth, you know that is not easy. You really have to birth a new money story. So I spent a lot of time focusing on what is abundance, what is prosperity, and I birthed it through creating new thought patterns and new beliefs about the truth about prosperity and abundance.
I was 25 years old. I was living a life that I did not love at all. I was in a toxic marriage. I had had a child in that marriage, and a lot of things were happening. and we start getting this nudging or this calling. If you ignore the nudges and the whispers and the taps on the shoulder, you will eventually get a brick to the head. So I was kind of ignoring because I didn't want to see that my life wasn't working, but I was more and more miserable. And I ended up being pushed out of a job in a very strange way, because if you start having these big desires and you don't take aligned action toward what you're saying you want most, the universe has to keep responding to the desires, so eventually it will look like the rug pulled out from under you. And at this time, people started showing up in my world, right in my face, that could help me if I chose to look at this differently and to change my life. My best friend was dying at the time, and I felt very called to travel to a town in Texas about 4 hours from where I lived and to visit him. And when I got there, the place was calling to me. My heart was opening, and I started seeing this vision that I just couldn't even imagine could happen, which is that I was going to come to this place. And this is where we start saying, well, how would I do that? I have a husband, I have a job, I have my family, this doesn't make sense. And I've learned to leave the house to the universe because a perfect plan was in place.
Ever since I was a little girl, I always dreamed of UFOs coming to my house, me going outside and looking up and actually knowing they're coming, so I was a little afraid, and I would see these big shifts with lots of intricate lights. And I remember just as a child and as a teenager, always feeling I kind of didn't belong here, and I never was in a group. I may have had one or two friends, but I never just felt comfortable in a group. And I even didn't feel part of my family. And I was very, very sensitive, but I felt really empty and I felt unhappy. And I wanted to be spiritual, more spiritual. So I found this Buddhist group, and we were envisioning what we wanted in our lives, and things started moving and happening, and there was a lot of healing. And that was the next step. But I knew I wanted ascension. I knew I wanted, and I could be a part of changing the world. And all of a sudden, instead of looking at UFO videos, people were popping in, talking about the ascension process. I read all these books about the law of one, and this was being channeled back in the 80s. And they were talking about the ascension process. So then I last year or a year and a half ago, I saw Susie popped up. And I'm like, oh, she's so pretty, she's so cute. She's channeling Prime Creator. That's the person I was praying to. I didn't know, So her channelings with Prime Creator were so loving and so inclusive. And it just spoke to me. I just immediately felt connected to Susie. So I started listening to this, and then there was a retreat coming up. During this retreat, there were a lot of spiritual awakenings that happened, and I started to get my spiritual gifts. So then I was connected to light language, the people that speak light language. There was a whole group in Colorado. They did phone calls. So I did my phone calls with Susie and her group and the Master Creators, Heaven on Earth. And then I did maybe a monthly call with the light language people. And I didn't speak it yet. I was just connected to them. So as it turns out, there was an activation. I got activated with light language. I can speak a couple paragraphs.
It was like 5 minutes short meditation, but something remarkable happened. Like I went so deep inside. I put my whole focus, and I went so deep that I started dancing with the universe. My body was literally moving. I mean, it was moving with the sounds. And I got so excited. Like, wow, what just happened? I was, so deep, in such a deep meditation. My first time, I could not believe. And on my second meditation, it was the most beautiful and mysterious thing that ever happened to me, My pineal gland burst wide open, radiant light, and I'm not kidding. Like I was so, like a little bit scared. What happened? Like, wow, what happened? What is that?
My awakening started when I was 7 years old. It was the 5th time that I died. And when I woke up, that with the needle in my chest, I remembered energy. I remembered vibration. I remembered frequency. I was looking at my crying mother standing over me, and I knew that she had already died years later, and I was just remembering that. And I looked at the doctor, and I didn't see a doctor. I saw energy. I felt everything. I saw everything. I knew everything. So, started telling people about that, and I was deemed what is known as crazy. And so at 9 years old, I looked for everything and anything that would get that information out of my head, and I turned to drugs. And it worked. For years and years and years, I put myself to sleep. I woke up August 1st, 1996, completely clean off of all drugs. Just woke up that morning, and it was over. Didn't go through what people go through with recovery or anything like that. I literally just woke up that morning, and I was completely clean. And in 2003, one of the doors opened wide, and I realized energy. And then in 2008, I re-met the love of my life, Allison, my wife now. And at 14, the funny thing about this, being able to remember things that haven't happened yet in this timeline, is at 14, I met her in junior high school. And I knew at that very moment that I met her that we were older and married. Unfortunately, I told her this at 14 years old, and not realizing that not everybody remembers the future. December 21st, 2012. Boom. The doors opened wide. I figured out how to draw the flower of life, and I started drawing it. When I drew it 100 different times, and I finally got it. Finally got it just right. And I put it up on my wall, and I started meditating on it. And something extraordinary happened. I was meditating on it so long, my eyes got tired. And my eyes crossed slightly when I was looking at it on the wall. And what happened is 2 of the dots that are in the center of all those circles, the 5-road flower of life, 2 of those dots connected together because my eyes were tired and they crossed a little bit. The moment that happened, it literally jumped off the wall. I mean, it became a 4-dimensional thing. It was no longer a 2-dimensional picture. It jumped off the wall. It like an optical illusion. Everybody can do this. Just look at a flower of life and then cross your eyes until 2 of the dots connect and it will jump off the wall. And at that very moment, I mean, literally the moment that it jumped off the wall, I heard something. And it said, evolve. When I added another row, made it a 6-road flower of life, and then connected the 2, it became a 5-road 4D flower of life. And the moment I did that, I heard another phrase, and it said, connect the dots. And I said, what do you mean connect the dots? So I connected the dots. I took a ruler, and I drew lines through the dots. And I connected all of the dots together, and that's when the door opened. The door to the Akashic Records busted wide open. And now I get constant downloads. Constant.
When I was a teenager, I was really having this drive to make an impact, to create something that will contribute to the change, that will serve people. And because of this self-love thing that we all have, I felt that I was not worthy of that or not good enough. So I was starting to look like in self-help fields, like reading books, attending seminars and trainings. And like after that, I moved to spirituality, where I found really like very deep answers about who I am and what I'm here to do. And so how I started with this, in doing what I love, it was, as I said, like 4 years ago. Like my grandfather like died, and he was very close to me. And after like the day after he died, I was just sitting alone near a lake in my city, and I was just thinking like what's this life is about. Like I'm just like doing something that I don't love just to have the safety and, you know, pay the bills and things like that. Like people, someone that I really loved like passed away, so this life is really limited. It's temporary. So it's better that I do things that I really love, and it's there that I had the courage to leave my job then and you know, start my own project, my own business. And when I decided this, I saw my grandfather on my dream, and he told me, "God bless you." And for me, that was like like a sign for me that I was doing the right thing.
My story of awakening started with me pretty much in a heap on my bedroom floor for close to a year. I tell the joke, the year I turned 50, I went through an unexpected divorce, went through menopause, sunk into a depression, left my job to follow my spiritual calling and figure out where the heck all this pain was coming from, all while raising 2 teenage daughters who were going through puberty. So the joke is, it happened all in the same year. And the beauty of it is, it happened all in the same year. Because what happened is when I was on my bedroom floor in a heap, I started reaching out, saying, I can't do this. I can't do this alone. And I started reaching out to my angels, to my guides, to pretty much anyone who would listen and say, I need some help. You know, show me what I'm to do. Because the pain is too great and I don't know how to handle it myself. And then the animals started showing up. Beautiful animals, many of them in many different unusual and unexpected ways. And I was introduced to the world of animal totems and animal symbolism.
My awakening happened on December 13th, 2004. I was actually on the acupuncture table, and I had initially gone to acupuncture to try to heal the chronic fatigue syndrome that I was diagnosed with. And it was session number 6. And I suddenly realized I just had this knowing that I no longer had chronic fatigue syndrome. I just knew it was gone from my body, that it was no longer an issue, a consideration, nothing. I had 2 weeks of bliss, and then the work began. So really for me, the awakening journey has been a progression. It's been day after day showing up, doing my inner work, looking within, trying to, find and release and transmute anything that no longer serves me, any areas of density within my being. And I've been on this journey for almost 13 years now. And so I am a completely transformed person from how I grew up. I grew up Mennonite, which is part of the Christian religion, and the beliefs I have now are drastically expanded compared to how I grew up. So my journey of awakening has been twofold, that sudden awakening experience and then the journey of doing the inner work that followed that.
When I was born, I came into this earth knowing, remembering my choice when I previously to incarnating into this lifetime. So my sister and I both had a conversation before we incarned, and we discussed who we wanted to be our mother. We were overlooking, basically, it looked like a mezzanine or like a circular halo, and we were looking down on the earth. We had 3 choices of mothers that we could choose. It's so strange, too, because I'm 38 years old now, and when we were that little, we both realized that we had been not in bodies before we came to this life. And so when we were here, we knew exactly why we were here and why we had chosen our parents and why we had chosen our lives.
I guess like last September, a year ago, I just got out of a codependent relationship. And, you know, it was beautiful people and a lot of things just came up within that relationship, within myself, you know, as that happens. And I started to look at myself and I'm like, why am I attracting these situations and this energy into my life? I don't want that anymore. I want, you know, a stable connection, real connections with people, and craving that authenticity. And I'm thinking, gosh, like what am I doing with my life? What's my life purpose? So all these thoughts started snowballing in my head, and really I started to desire and crave my life purpose, and just to find out who I was inside and what kind of person I am. I was in a really bad place, depressed. I would say after reading online, it was the dark night of the soul that I experienced. Just feeling so disconnected and lost, and wondering if there was more to my life. Is this it? Is this it? Just depression and darkness. And so I started to ask for help, and it was really difficult for me to step out of myself and my ego and to go and see somebody and ask for help, and to ask, why am I feeling like I could actually feel an energetic connection with the person I broke up with. In my stomach, it felt like this big hook that had reached in there and grabbed on, and I thought, oh my goodness, this is like a vice grip. Like, this is not right. Blocks would come up and my healer would help me. Like, she always said it was a process that I had to lead. I initiated it, what work I wanted done, and then she would help me and assist me through it, along with spirit guides. There were spirit guides there too, like all this amazing stuff I was learning. And one at a time with her, we started to remove blocks. I also started doing Kundalini yoga, which I'd studied yoga before, not very seriously, but then I started going once a week and practicing on my own, and that's also something that helps to keep your flow going and to lose energetic blocks. I just felt like suddenly I'm looking for all this support, and I started meeting people who are also on the journey of opening up and becoming their true selves. And before I know it, like around January, just after Christmas, I really just kind of closed off and went inside and started looking and asking myself the questions to the answers that I had. There were the questions that I had, and looking for answers. And journaling, I got a little journal app on my phone, and I started writing to myself, asking the question with one hand and answering with another. And I thought, holy crap, I'm actually answering my own questions. Like, this is amazing. Like, probably one of the first times in my life I stopped looking for validation outside of myself or answers, you know. And for a few months it was kind of like that. I went on this deep inner journey, and I learned so much, and I started getting visions, and I did have supportive people around me, like Susie, you're one of those people. I would go to your videos now and then. I would see the things you were putting online. I'm like, yes, I'm not crazy. Because that was the hardest thing. I kept thinking, oh my goodness, I must be crazy.
Like, that eureka moment for me was when I read The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And that was a real awakening for me. It was so poetic and so full of spiritual content that it like overloaded my brain. And so it was definitely like the first time that I was like, wow, there really is something different than just sports and news and TV.
Whether you're someone who had a sudden awakening experience or you had a gradual increase in awareness that there's something more, now it's important to put one foot in front of the other and keep going one step at a time. Listen in to what's happened with those who have had their awakening experiences and how they manage their day today.
In my life today now, you know, I do film work. I'm a writer. You know, I use a lot of psychotherapy in acting lessons and acting technique, and I've worked with suicide survivors to help them confront their own demons as well.
I feel like the moon. They say the moon is fine too with the darkness, and they say the moon finds its way to shine through it. So I relate to the moon,
And so I just let go and I surrendered, and, just this, in that moment, immense calm came over me. It was like whoosh. And, I stopped shaking, and, my heart rate came back to a normal beat. And I just felt this light in this, when you're swimming in the ocean, there's this light that comes from the ocean, from the bottom. It just like consumes you, this light. And I felt consumed with this light and one with the dolphins. And I just surrendered and let go. And I was like, okay, I'm going to come up to the surface and see where the hell I am. And then I was okay with that. And so I came up and I looked around, and the boat was 20 feet away from me. And what had happened is that the dolphins had taken me out to sea, swung me back around, and brought me right back to the boat. It was like they knew, that this is what I needed in that moment.
We might have visions of times that we were a king or a queen or a pauper, or we thought we were a great saint and we were very wise and powerful. But realistically, now we are at our highest point in our evolution, even if we don't feel it, because we might be going through a little backhill slide right now. But if we pick ourselves up, we get some good techniques, some good training, some good guidance, we can keep moving. And the other thing is that we can't take it for granted. I can't even count the number of times when things would really open up, and then I'd say, well, of course, I'm supposed to be enlightened. And then I would ease up on whatever I was doing. I'd reduce my meditations. I'd start staying up late, and I'd start playing around and stuff. And then it would all gradually close down again.
I couldn't do what I wanted to do. Like, I couldn't get up, I couldn't eat. It was actually a very strong invitation to notice what wanted to happen. So my body was instructing me, here's what's next. If you want to try something different, go for it. It won't work, but you figure that out. I guess another thing was just kind of trusting in the process. Like there was a way that it was so absurd that I actually developed in a way the sense of safety. Like literally there must have been some other force that was active in that incident for me to be here. So if that force was there then it must be here now. So, kind of the sense of not having to strive so much.
And I think you get in touch with your spirituality through being your creative self, that being who you are naturally and what feels good, and then why you were here is all those things that don't turn off, those voices and the feelings and the emotions that just keep coming up all the time. If we feed those and trust those gut and intuition and, feelings that are just there from the day we're born, I think that they lead us. It's like a heart compass, that takes us where we're supposed to be.
Whoever you are, money is just going to expand who you are. So if you're a good, loving, spiritual, kind-hearted person, like I'm sure you are watching this, then money's just going to expand who you are. And the thing is, if you don't have any money, then it's like you can't give generously. You can't, like for us with our family, like we give back generously. We sponsor children with Save the Children, and we're able to give so much more than I ever could have if I was stuck in my, survival. And one of the things that came through me years ago was I heard, the universe tell me, and I heard, Amanda, you're not here to survive. You are a light worker, and you are here to thrive. And that was such a relief. I was like, wait, what? I'm not here to survive, because I feel like the dark side is trying to keep you down and into survival and getting by and hard and struggle, where we're really meant to thrive.
I ended up moving to San Antonio to spend time with my friend, to help him as he was dying and facing everything that comes up around that, which sent me full in to my own spiritual awakening. And what I want you to see, it was all divinely orchestrated, but I had to take the first step. I ended up choosing to not go home to Dallas. I left my toxic marriage. I had been forced out of my job, which led me to all of a sudden have the time to be able to go to San Antonio. I ended up staying there and going through a very intense spiritual awakening. And to show you, I love how the universe works. I was a freelancer doing desktop publishing and PR and marketing. And I got hired by a group of psychics and healers who were opening a metaphysical center. And I had to do all their PR. And they kept telling me, you're like us.
And it's the same story for many people. They go through it many different times. And, you know, you have these things called dark nights of the soul where you question yourself, you question everything. Oh my gosh, am I really, really on the right path? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? What is my purpose?
Because I was suicidal when I was a teenager. And so I do want to say that just because I came in remembering was, you know, didn't negate certain aspects of karmic learning, karmic lessons, and things that I needed to get through to overcome. I just went through it very young and without a whole lot of support, actually. So I think the fact that I did remember gave me that tiny minutia of support that I needed so that I wouldn't take my life.
And my empathy kicked in really big, and I just couldn't take it. I have had it. I refuse to live in a world like this. I want beautiful peace, harmony, love, connection.
I love creative expression of all kinds, and I've just been keeping that all bottled up for so long. I started painting. It's not all straight, it's not all amazing and great all the time, but during those lower times, I find I'm able to give myself that love and nurturing that gets me through it. I don't need it from somebody else. I'm learning how to make myself happy, and I'm learning how to really listen to my intuition, you know, through my art and my creativity and my speaking. Like, it's just all, the more I do it, the better it gets.
My mission is to help others connect with their unique aspects. So I really have to follow my unique path. So it was a journey more about, like, how to say, being self-sufficient, like have my own energy, like being strong enough to commit to myself and my own path, and not needing others to agree with me. So that was the challenge in the beginning. And also another thing, because in my past I was very religious, and so for me, like having this freedom to questioning everything, that was very scary in the beginning. And sometimes I really couldn't like sleep at night because of that. Like I was really doubting what I'm doing here. Like, am I doing the right thing? Or yeah. So, but I had this knowing I just need to continue. You know, even if I had those fears.
What I can actually say is that all these awakenings, if you like, and things that we are guided to do, have the impulse to do, get the nudge, that next little step, that's the most important thing. That's the thing I've learned. If you can actually understand how important the next step is without actually understanding the how or even the why, just like turning up for it and being available to be an instrument of service, you will grow and expand yourself, no matter what anyone else learns or no matter what anyone else thinks or their opinions of you or whether or not it's correct information. It doesn't really matter. What matters is you turn up for it and that you follow through with it. That's part of the awakening process.
So I got into this point where I started becoming kind of bitter and angry, and for me that was part of the process as well. Is you learn, oh, there's something behind the curtain, and you go behind the curtain and you don't like what you see, and you start questioning your life, yourself, like, what is it that I'm here to do? And I think all of this is part of the awakening, and so for me, I started spending a little too much time in that being angry and bitter phase, and I realized, like, you know what the problem is, you see it, you can talk about it with people all day long, but what are you going to do about it?
It's really a continuous discovery about who we are, and it's like an adventure. Like there's always an expansion, always there's growth. We are always discovering new things about ourselves.
And then opening my eyes to what was trying to show up for me changed the entire trajectory of my life, including I had a huge career change, which set me on the path of healer and coach.
And I let myself feel now. I connect with kindred spirits. I do a lot of work with people who, like all of us, have a need for connection. And when we connect with people from here and not just from here, there's a stronger, more solid connection. And when I'm fully present with someone, I have to be fully present with myself. And I think that's a huge wake-up call for me. I cannot go back to the way things were. I call myself an optimistic, OPTI-MYSTIC, one who sees the world through the eyes of possibility. So that's just how I live. And I invite people to come and play with me, with you, with whoever, lightens them up and enlivens them up, because we're too precious to waste another moment.
And then the golden beings showed up. My beautiful, what I call golden angels, started showing up to me in many different spiritual experiences, showing me and guiding me and embracing me in this beautiful love and sharing information with me. The most important thing that the golden beings shared with me telepathically was that we don't really go anywhere, right? There is no path to ascension. There is no ladder we need to climb. There is nothing and nowhere we need to go. There is no doing. There's actually no being. That's not even it. We just are. There is an isness. You know,
as you go through your awakening journey, I invite you to reach out for support. This is one of the most important things that I can impart to you as you travel your awakening journey, because you may feel alone, you may feel isolated, you may feel misunderstood, but there are people, I guarantee you, there are people out there who understand what you're going through. There are people out there with whom you can relate. There are people out there who would love to support you and provide you their wisdom, their nourishment as you go through your journey. So don't hesitate to reach out for support. Yeah, you have to make yourself vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there, but the support that you can receive back is going to be greater than anything you've ever imagined, and those people are out there for you. So please reach out for support and be willing to receive in a whole new way, because this journey is unlike anything you've ever experienced before, and it is amazing.
Just each emotion, has content, and if you completely integrate that feeling of whatever that dark energy is, you can systematically move up the scale, move up that emotional hierarchy to feelings of first clarity and love, joy, peace, and enlightenment, where you honestly start to see everything as divine.
Filter everything that you do through love. Be the change that you wish to see in the world, but heal yourself. Heal yourself first.
Learn to love yourself, because you can't love anyone else or change their lives. It's all about you. When you change, when you love yourself, when you look in that mirror, no matter what, and see a beautiful, loving, godly human being that was born perfect and has a perfect soul, and know that when you love yourself and you do things to keep you in a high vibration and joy, you're affecting every living human being on earth.
Really assess, maybe even have a friend help a person assess, what they've lived up to this point and how those actually are lessons.
Everybody is there to teach you, and everybody is learning from you. And just be open, just let go. Honestly, it's just letting go, because the more you try to manipulate things with your ego, you break that flow. It's really the difference between trying to punch a tsunami instead of learning how to surf on a wave. And that's really
slow down. It's okay to take a break. If it becomes overwhelming, we are physical beings. We have physical energy. Let it go by releasing it to the large crystal that we happen to be standing on and that can handle the frequency. And it's called grounding.
Like, just live in the now, just surrender.
Go down that rabbit hole, do the deep diving. Some of us, there's a lot of fear to go to that place. We like maybe tap into it and we pop out. And I'm just saying, go for it. Just follow those trails, follow that sign, but go into those dark places that you're afraid to go to. Go into those unknowns. Go into that scary place where you actually will transform and grow. Take the risk and follow your heart.
Yeah, just tune in, ask questions, and just appreciate people so much. Even if it seems like someone is really, really trying to trigger you or trying to, antagonize you, admire their strength.
Removing these blocks and setting yourself free is not easy. It is not easy work. You have to look inside yourself, looking at your shadow, looking at the parts that you couldn't face at one time or another, and that's why they became blocks in your body. That's why they plugged up the filter that is you and stopped you from flowing. Looking at those things is the most courageous, most honorable, self-loving, dedicated, freedom-loving thing that you can do for yourself. And it's also the scariest, and you don't have to do it alone.
It's a matter of choice. Do you want to shine your light, or you want to fade? It's a matter of choice to see the magic go around us, or not. And I encourage you to see that light, because you'll find much more about you than you possibly realize.
It's going to be an interesting journey, and it's not going to be linear. It's not going to be just a straight ride up. You're going to have ups and downs. That's just life, and you just keep going. And the old adage of, if you fall down, you get back up. That's the main thing. And some techniques will work for you. They might not work for others, and vice versa.
Write about the miracles you experience. Look for miracles. Look for what I call cosmic coincidences. Look for, I'm thinking about this song, and boom, there it is on the radio.
Take it easy. Go with the flow. Be with the moment that you're living, and just don't overdo it. Don't try and take in too much all at the same time.
Be open to what's showing up, and be generous with yourself. Because I think that's really what the invitation in life is. And if you just simply do those two things, I think it invites guidance from lots of sources that will help you.
When you're in that time where it's low and you're feeling these feelings and it's really difficult, painting it out, writing it out, making music to get it out of your system, those things all help. Flowing it out of you somehow. Physical activity, you have tools, you're not alone, you can feel those emotions and get through it.
Never stop questioning everything, even yourself. Keep diving deeper.
Change. Always stay vigilant, stay hopeful, and true to yourselves, because great things are changing right now.
We're always given the next step, and even that next step might be unclarity or to wait. And I have learned, if I'm not clear and if I don't know, it's okay. And so I pass that on to you. It's okay if you don't know. You don't have to choose. You don't have to do anything. Wait for the sign. Wait for the nudge. Because when you know, you know.
I encourage parents not to discourage their children if they say that they're talking to fairies. They might be. So I would encourage parents to encourage their children.
When we have some guidance or some idea and we are doubting it, just to follow it, follow one another after another, And with time, we'll be able to differentiate with our true guidance and something that is coming from our fear or something else.
Just start examining your beliefs about money. Write down 100 beliefs. You know, money is bad, money is wrong, money is not spiritual, I'm going to go to hell if I have money. Other people, you know, if you're rich, you're you know, whatever, like write down all your beliefs of what you really think being rich or being people with money are. Write all that down and look at it, and then decide, is that what I want? Is that how I want to live? Or do you want to create some new beliefs about money? Like money is spiritual, money is a tool, money is abundant, money is always here for me, and then create some new thought patterns and new beliefs and start impressing those into your mind so they become your reality. Like money is good, money is fun, money is easy, money is abundant.
Having desires and you're putting those desires out into the universe will and has to respond. So if stuff shows up in your life that looks like all the crap, it is showing up in response to your desire. So you either have the choice, we all have free will. You can shut the desire down and choose to live how you're living, or you can respond to what the desire brings to you. It's risky, it's scary, but there are breadcrumbs all along the way, and you're not going to know the whole path. You have to just follow breadcrumb and trust, and it's so worth it.
We're being called to make a difference in the world, to be a greater force for good in the world. Find people that you can talk to about it who are not going to think you're crazy.
Like allow that there's a possibility the thing that's been really difficult actually is a sign of something right in you. And well, how could that possibly be true? And just allow the puzzle to exist.
Doubt everything, find your own light, you know.
When people like us actually have money, we're able to do so much more and circulate so much more awareness and consciousness, and then you give other people permission. Like for me, when I was giving my services away for free, now that I've stepped into my power, I've been able to lift so many of my friends up with me. Other, you know, shamans and angel guidance coaches, like these kind of clients that I've worked with, and now they're affecting their light and helping way more people than they ever would have. It's neutral. I think knowing that money is neutral is a very important thing.
So I invite all of you to continue with me on our spiritual journeys. Stay with it and join me in the isness.
I really highly suggest you join the Creation Temple and go into the Violet Flame transformations, because that was key. That for me was key. Once I got rid of that, my gifts started manifesting, and I was able to be of service to others, because that's where your happiness is.
Thank you so much for watching this film. I appreciate you being part of the journey, and if you are someone who does want support from someone who's been there. I've been on this journey for over 13 years now, and I understand what it takes to keep going. I understand what it means to awaken to deeper and deeper levels of truth. I am here to support you in the Creation Temple. The Master Creators and I meet every week, and you get a depth of support that you haven't experienced anywhere else. You'll be with soul family. You'll go through processes and healings that will take you to the next level. So join us in the Creation Temple and take your journey one step further.
What are you here for? What do you want to do? You know, what makes you happy? And how can you take all of that and make it a benefit to yourself, but also the world? And that's kind of how Listening to Smile, was born. Was I love making music. I don't know if I would be here today without music. It's so powerful and has saved my life so many times. It played a huge part in my healing, my evolution, my curiosity and creativity. And so all of that came to fruition in the company of just taking some of the talents that I have and applying it